Hi, Joel.
Hello, sorry about the delay.
Hey, no problem. I was going to say you came off mute and then you went back on mute and I didn't hear anything. So if you said anything, it didn't work, but looks
Yeah.
good.
Just fiddling with a couple of years ago, I downsized from one of those big mobile devices to an old traditional iPhone mini. And it's great for portability, but in terms of manual manipulation, and so yeah, that's much to be desired. But for a 65-year-old, I turned 65 a couple days ago. So
Oh, happy birthday.
thank you.
Yeah, I loved a long time ago, Steve Jobs, somebody asked him about making a smaller iPhone and he said, what are you going to do? File off your fingertips? Because your fingertips can only get so small. Now I got it get hard to argue with that.
Never got. I have three kids, and they're all and my wife, who's approximately my age, they move their thumbs or both thumbs around like
Oh, yeah.
nobody's business. I've never been able to master that technique.
I tried that once. I think I sprained my thumb. All right. Hey, Anton.
I had a sore throat, feared I wouldn't get everybody else sick.
All right. Well, I appreciate that.
Likewise,
Right.
Anton.
Well, we have a quorum, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Mary may be joining here momentarily, but we'll get started without her. Let's see. Statement of public notice. Hereby provided our written notice of the agenda and public meeting is stated below. There is an opportunity for public comments as noted on the agenda upon recognition of the presiding officer. Roll call. We've got myself. We have Terry, Anton, and Joel. And from the board, we have Teresa and Lori. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America.
United States of America,
For which it stands,
to the
one
republic
nation,
for which it stands,
under God,
one nation, under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I think I missed a section. All right. It's always fun with three different pledges going on simultaneously out of sync. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any revisions that anybody has to the agenda? Or do I think I need to adopt it first. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to
Motion
adopt
by
the
Joel,
agenda.
or second by Joel.
All right. Anton moved, Joel seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, approval of minutes from the Technology Committee from 3/28. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 28th Technology Committee meeting.
Second by Joel.
All right, thanks, Joel. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments. And I do see Mary has joined. Public comments. Are there any comments anybody would like to make for any items that are not on the agenda? All right. Jumping right into ongoing items. Disaster recovery, cloud backup, final update. We have a final update this time? That would be one for you.
I talked to Tim for a long time today about everything else, but not the cloud backup.
All right. we'll just carry that to next month.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's all right. I get to apologize for the next one. So security updates for the town hall, security intercom options. I looked at a couple of different things. Didn't really get to where I needed to be, and then I got distracted and forgot to get back to it. So we will carry that over as well. Anybody else have any comments on the security intercom options?
Nope.
All right, broadband meeting update. So this was the county broadband meeting, which was very interesting. And I assume that's what this line item is. It was very interesting. Midco was there to present. And the one thing that came painfully clear during that meeting is town of St. Joseph is not even on Midco's radar right now. So if they do anything in the town of St. Joseph, we're looking at 2026 or later. So that was kind of disappointing. But we have better news coming later. So, the other interesting thing is the money that the county has right now can only be used for planning. It can't be used for implementation or anything like that. So it can only be used for planning. And there was quite a discussion on and I can't remember the specific group that they had talked to that would do the survey. The big discussion was that worth doing, or was it just a way to spend money that they had? They never made a decision on that, but they never decided that it was worth doing. So at this point, they're not moving forward with it officially, but they're still considering moving forward with it if from a broadband committee perspective.
See, I thought they approved that.
They didn't, well,
Because they're gonna map the entire county as to where there is fiber
well,
and whether it's being used or not.
I don't know if the town board approved it, but the
County board.
broadband committee didn't actually make a specific decision on it.
Now, I have to look that up. I thought that they were gonna go ahead, but I could be wrong.
And it sounded to me just like they weren't gonna make a recommendation one way or the other. So it did sound, and basically throw it to the county board.
Okay.
But they didn't make a strong recommendation one way or the other. One gentleman in particular was interesting because he thinks that within the next 5 or 10 years, it'll all be wireless, so none of the fiber will matter anyway. I think he's totally 100% wrong, but but it was his point of view. But and the one thing I would caution is in the discussions that they had, don't get your hopes up on the benefit of this particular survey, because it's not like they're going to go out, and I don't even know how you scan for fiber. I don't know if they bury a wire that then they can trace or whatever, but it's really,
Yes, they have those scans just like we use on construction.
yeah, they
They'll
must
come
put,
out and scan it. And with fiber, they'll lay what's called a tracing
Yeah.
layer with it.
Yep. That's kind of a figure, but that's not what they have proposed. Basically, what this proposal seems to be is primarily going and taking all of the information that's available and just putting it into a single consolidated
They're
thing.
not actually gonna go out and actually test these roads and see where this is.
That was my impression.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
And, you know, when you look at the amount that they're talking about, that's not a huge surprise, but, so again, it was very enlightening. And that, like I said, that's why the discussion was, is this worth doing? So more to come on that, but, at any rate, so that was kind of the update from that meeting. It was, we'll say it was interesting. I didn't walk away from that with any warm feelings. But it was good to at least get that perspective. I think it's worth, well, and actually the other big topic of discussion was very similar to some discussions we've had here, is what can they do about it in any case? Fundamentally, they don't have a budget to spend money to implement broadband. They've got this little bit of money to do planning. But beyond that, there's really no money to spend. So the big question was, what can the broadband committee actually do to make a difference? They pretty much came down to, we can try and work to get, administrative stuff out of the way, make it as easy as possible for anybody that wants to put to bury fiber. But there was a really interesting discussion around even what is the purpose of that broadband committee, and could it actually make a difference?
Their next meeting, they're talking about that BEAD, B-E-A-D. Have you heard about that? That's another broadband program that's out there.
Yeah, they didn't.
Well, that's on their next agenda here. What is their next agenda? May 1st, May 2nd?
Did that just come out?
The agenda just got posted. So I saw that and went, I was online looking at that too. And that's a different program, and that I can't tell you that I know a lot about it, but I'm just saying there's another one out there.
Yeah, that may be something they didn't have last month, because they didn't mention that, because they had quite a discussion about there's no grants, there's no money, there's no budget.
But there's more coming.
Yeah.
Also, BEAD goes through the state, so the state first needs to decide how to allocate the monies.
Yep. And I think the allocation's been done, is what I think. Isn't it on their website? I don't have my computer with me tonight, but I think it's on their website.
State website or the federal?
On the state. But also this broadband meeting update is about your meeting on Thursday night.
I thought we had that down further. But if not,
I don't see it.
okay, I don't either. So broadband meeting update. So we did get one response from Northwest Telecom. And I was actually trying to pull up the details on, but basically, the person from Northwest may or may not make the meeting. They're out of town and may not make it back in time. So they provided us the information ahead of time so we can provide it, which is actually what we'd asked them to do if they couldn't make the meeting. And the headline on that is that they are expecting to complete the build out of all of the remaining areas by this August.
So that
And-
means everybody in the town who does not have access will get it?
Well, that would be a question I'd want to ask him in person, because that was what was implied.
Is there any way, if they can't be here, that you could set up a Zoom link with Terry, that we could bring them in on a meeting by Zoom, not allowing anyone else in on it, but just that?
On a separate meeting?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
So if that would work, maybe you could reach out to him and say, can you attend by Zoom?
He can't attend this one. Or the one on Thursday.
At all?
I think from the sounds of it, he'd be in transit. If he could make
Well,
it.
why don't you reach out to them and see?
Yeah, Terry, do you want to? You got the email that, just see if he can, and.
Let's share that email with the committee and the board.
Yep,
My other thing is, will you please have a sign up that night
sure.
of people coming in so that you know where these people are coming from and what neighborhoods they're talking about?
All right, and I have to qualify that. I am not actually in town on Thursday.
So who's going to run this meeting?
So that's something we have to discuss. And that brings up an interesting question, because I was kind of hoping Anton, but Anton, you're not feeling well, so that might not be a good plan.
Probably not.
That's Joel. Joel, yeah, we're gonna go through the thing. Joel, any chance you can run the meeting in person? Yeah, I will be on Zoom, but I just won't be here in person. Oh,
Joel, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I kind of assumed we did, but that wasn't. Hmm? Yeah, that was one downside of the,
Is
that?
this something you just want to cancel and reschedule? Because if Northwest can't be here and you can't be here and Anton can't be here, maybe this is a meeting you need to reschedule when Northwest can be here.
I'm not opposed to that.
I mean, I'm just questioning that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it sounds, it sounds like from an in-person, we're a little thin. So let's do,
I think that probably is the best thing. I mean, I could be there in person, but if Northwest is really the only participant or provider that says they can attend and they can't. I mean, you haven't gotten
Well-
response from anybody else, have you?
no, and to be honest, I don't. The one thing that was really, really clear when I went to the county broadband meeting is there's really nobody else that's gonna be viable and to fill out these areas. Unless somebody decides they're gonna come in and do an overlay of the whole town, because it's just not gonna make any sense. So so Northwest is pretty much it. Maybe what we should do is talk to the gentleman from Northwest and see when he could attend. And then based on that, figure out when to schedule it. Does that make sense?
I'm fine with that, but whatever you do has to get done tomorrow. You
Yes.
can't wait till Thursday to cancel a meeting.
Yeah, can we cancel it tomorrow and then figure out the reschedule in a couple of days
I would like to be able to put it on the
on the
website,
cancellation?
but if you can't, you can't. I mean, I just think if we're gonna cancel it, people are gonna go, well, does that mean we don't get any? Or are we gonna cancel it with a caveat that it looks like we're gonna get broadband and we will have another meeting to inform you of this?
I say when you cancel it, put on there, cancel, watch for new date.
Yes.
Yeah, unless we can get one tomorrow, which is a possibility.
Well, do you have to find out before noon?
What's that?
The question is, when can that guy make a meeting, right? Because that's where the questions are.
Yeah,
Right. So, yeah, Terry, if you can reach out to him.
I think that's risky.
What's that?
Right now.
Yeah, and then you have to
I know.
look at when the building is available. And I am out. Oh, I gotta find a calendar. Use my phone.
Through May 12th?
Didn't think it was that long, but it might be.
12th is a Wednesday, 11th is a Tuesday.
I'm
wait,
actually,
wait.
yeah, I'm out until May 10th.
Oh yeah, I said it wrong. Yeah.
So if the 11th could work,
Anytime after 11th, you think?
there's a board meeting on the 11th? Oh, yeah, yep, you're right. That's the second Tuesday.
the board
Our second
meeting is
Thursday, sorry.
Thursday, May 11th.
Yep.
17, but everything else goes to.
You didn't
So-
say it into the microphone so they could hear you
So maybe
online.
try this Tuesday, the 16th or Thursday, the 18th.
Mhm.
We want to offer those to him and see if those, either of those work.
Those and then see what he wants.
Yep.
Actually, there's lots of these open.
What's that? 16th or 18th? Does that work for the other folks on the technology committee? The 16th or the 18th?
Mm-hmm. 16th works, 18th. I've got a meeting until 7.
So let's try the 16th. See if that works. Yeah, any date will work for me, so. After the 10th. Or the 10th or later. All right. Any more discussion on broadband? Meeting and update.
So I don't know, John, if you know the answer, or Anton or Teresa. At one time, there was a large pot of money which was to be allocated back out by St. Croix County. That was a part of not COVID money, but it's a type of funding money that came in. And there was a large chunks as a set aside that would go to town of St. Joe. Do we know what happened to that?
For
money?
broadband specifically?
Do we know where all that money went to?
Well.
I mean-
I can't speak specifically or with certainty, but I know that that's part of where. Although that gets to be the interesting question, the county offered part of that for Northwest to build out Burkhardt. And I don't know if that
Oh,
is where that money went. But I also remember hearing at some point that Northwest returned that. But I might be confusing that with something, but my understanding was that the county, they didn't give us to allocate, they spent it in the town of St. Joseph to build out Burkhardt.
So are we just gonna accept that as the final answer? Are we gonna look and see clarification on what happened to those funds and if there's any of that money, because that wasn't earmarked for planning.
Well, we can check. All I know is based on the broadband meeting I went to, that they said there was no money available at this point for any broadband build out.
But I'm with her that I think they allocated it. What happened to it?
And
Yeah.
we're not talking about starting from this day forward, and I just pulled up the bead and it's pretty clear, but I'd like to know so that we have we have information and an answer on that money that was previously discussed.
Who can we talk to at county to find out? Any idea?
I call the head of the broadband committee, first of all, whoever
Okay.
that, or whoever the county board supervisor is that's on that broadband committee.
Yeah,
That's where I
because-
charge.
Yeah, I think I go along with Teresa.
Okay.
That's who you should contact because somebody has that answer. Maybe not the committee as a whole, but that answer is out there.
I would hope I mean, that's a good point. I would hope that the broadband committee would know. If they don't, says something. Let me jot this down. Otherwise I'll forget. All right, anything else? All right. Document management, OneDrive costs.
All right. This was fun. So I talked with Tim for a while today on OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drive, all of it.
Mhm.
And he basically asked him, what do you think we should really do? He said that, moving to OneDrive is good because we'd all be working on Microsoft apps,
Mhm.
Word and Excel. But it's at the cost of, everybody would have to have Microsoft products on their computer. You guys can probably explain this better than me because you're more technology inclined. Let's just put it this way. After talking with Tim, my thought is, why do we really even need to leave Google Drive if it's really not that broken? It's just a fact of people using Google apps for the documents and putting multiple versions into it. But if we could control it a little bit better, maybe with versions or something like that, maybe that would work.
Well, here's the interesting,
And if we fix the licensing.
I asked him about the license and he thought we were fine with our license. So is that something I need to check into a little deeper?
I think so.
So you think it's more of a personal license?
I guess if we can find out for sure exactly what license we have.
Okay,
I would guess that we have the governmental side of Google. Can you see it on there? Because it can still be allocated to a person in the office.
It should show up in the like about your account type.
I'll go
screen
into
for
the
administrator.
admin.
Well, she can check it because I know others have it set up that way.
yeah, I guess the one comment I would make is the comment that if we went with OneDrive, everybody would have to have Office to be able to work with those documents. Well, part of the thing that we want is if we have Google Drive and they don't have Office, then they use Google Docs to work with the documents, and that's what screws them up.
But I think there's
So-
a way to manage that if you really wanted to.
Right, but on the flip side, if that's one of the reasons to not go to OneDrive and not go to SharePoint, that doesn't make any sense because basically procedurally, what we're trying to say anyway is if you don't have Microsoft Word, don't touch a Microsoft Word document. You can view it, but don't make any changes to it. And so we're saying we'd want to enforce that on Google Drive regardless. And that's not a downside of going to OneDrive because that would kind of enforce it automatically.
Well, the downside of OneDrive is the cost. That's the downside.
And
And then I have to come back. Here's where I'm coming from. I'll just say it very quickly. So there's a big cost difference. So you have to say to yourself, who's using Google Docs for what reason? Could you have, for instance, let's say Plan Commission, because you two are both here. Could you say, okay, we're going to redo ordinance XYZ and we're going to keep it in a Word doc in control of someone on that commission?
Mhm.
And as you talk about things, changes are made on the Word doc sent to her. She puts it in the Google Docs as version 1. Now, the next time comes around, it goes in as version 2. Meanwhile, everyone on the committee can go into version 2 and make comments down the sidebar of it. And who's ever in charge of the Word doc can take that into consideration when they go through it in a meeting, make the changes in the Word doc. Now that comes in as version 3.
okay, and
Part of it would
Anton?
require, just a second, part of it would require Terry to have a little bit more hands-on that. But it also controls what's happening with those docs. Even if you go to
Yep.
OneDrive, we still have a lot of fingers in the pot.
Yep, and so I like that idea with a caveat, and it's gonna ask Anton. Anton, do you know if there's a security or option in Word to say you can only do comments, but you can't edit the document otherwise, or is it just?
There is, I don't know. This being Microsoft, I have no idea whether it's like licensed in a weird way.
It seems like that would be a great feature. I've just never personally seen that. But if that is available, then that would be an interesting way to enforce it. The thing I worry about is we can certainly say procedurally, here's what we're gonna do.
Right.
And then have a, you know, a 10-page manual on here's the procedures everybody needs to follow. I don't have a lot of faith in human beings following
Right. And
procedures.
I'm not saying that it has to be that long, but the only two committees that use it for docs is Plan Commission and Parks here and there. So I look at this and go, can we manage this in a different way without this exceptional cost? Because the cost is like, what is it, Terry? Like $12.50 a license? Plus,
Well, 12, here, let me get my book. It was for basic, it was $4 a month
per
for-
license.
per
Per person,
license.
yep.
Yes.
Yep. And then if you do the one that includes Teams and
Oh, God.
SharePoint and everything else, it was $12.50.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And you see, the other committees look at their Google Drive and look at their Google Docs, but they're not manually changing anything. They're simply viewing. So under this, if you go to OneDrive, you're still paying for each of those also. So if people like the Board of Appeals, let's take them. The Board of Appeals hears a matter, there's going to be documents inside of that Google Drive that they have to access. They're not changing anything, obviously, because that stuff's been submitted to them. They're going to look at it,
Yep.
but you're paying that price per person,
So,
per month.
okay, so I
And
just
even if
want
it's
to,
$4.
I
that-
want to clarify. So Terry, that means it's $4 for someone that's even just has read-only access?
This is what confuses me because he was really trying hard to explain how it works.
Would it
He
be
did-
worth it for me to talk to him?
Yes,
I'm thinking that might be the thing,
Yes.
because I know like Microsoft, well, everybody's licensing, Oracle's licensing makes Microsoft's licensing look easy.
he did a really good job. He used a McDonald's metaphor with French fries and ketchup, but I still am a little fuzzy and I want to make sure I got it right.
You know, let's set up the call with the three of us
Okay,
and we can talk through the licensing and then, the nice thing is whatever he says, I'll actually understand what he's saying.
yes, you will.
Uh,
A lot better
Whatever,
than me.
in whatever words he uses, so,
Right.
I think.
But I think that, and you could also ask some other options because, you know, the full blown Microsoft Words and then the version that's online or the view only, or can you get around it by using PDF stuff? There's options, right? Potentially. So,
Sounds-
and that's probably sometimes, and I think some of the things that you guys have brought up as different processes and things is good because unless he knows how we plan on using it and the different ways we might be using it, he can't answer as well either.
Yeah, he was speaking more, you're right, Mary. He was speaking more about like collaboration, if we all want to be in a document at the same time, and we don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I started to revert back to thinking Google Drive is probably just fine if we get people to, you know, submit the documents the same way and we put them in the same way or something.
Yeah, they'd have to
Have
send
like
it
a
to you.
rule or something.
Well, and then and I think we definitely would need to rethink the way that we use the working docs.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
Like clean it up or something, but
Well, and just, because right now the working docs is open to multi, and we'll have, between meetings, we'll have, you know, 3 or 4 people in there making.
But you see,
Taking
they should be
updates.
making comments, not changes.
But we don't have a way to enforce that right now and people make mistakes.
Right, exactly. But, and just figuring out quickly at $4 a month per person, you're talking about $2,200 a year.
Yep.
I mean, that's a chunk of change to spend on something that most are not using it to the full extent that, say, the Plan Commission would use it.
Yep.
So I'm coming back to questioning this.
Mhm.
So can we go one, I think one of the things, because everybody's, what are we call them use cases? What are the different scenarios or what are the requirements that we really want? Because if we want to say only one person is updating per month or something, and mostly everybody's a view only, then that's different, right? What you want to be careful is that you're not looking at saving costs and then shifting that cost to hours that Terry or somebody else has to do because they're manually, we're sending it to them and then they have to load it and all this other stuff. And you're just shifting the work, right? Because that is a cost as well. It's just shifting where the cost is. But like, how many committees do we have and how often do we really need somebody updating or moving? I think just a quick overview of what we think that is and then how we would use it might help define what we're asking them to as far as a breakdown.
Yeah, I think
Well,
we
I-
did
I
that
can
one.
s- Oh, go ahead, Anton, sorry.
I think we did that once, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure if we ever got it properly written down.
Well,
Um,
and Terry is updating the Google Drive all the time. First of all, for the board, she does all of our stuff. For the Plan Commission, she does a lot of stuff. Our biggest difficulty has been with Parks, Trails and Rec because they tend to want to put their own docs in there rather than going through the office. Her dumping a doc into Google Docs is not terribly
No, it
time
doesn't take,
consuming.
it doesn't take long at all. And
But if they're not going to send it to her, then what happens in Google Docs is you don't know which is the most current version of what you're looking at. And that's
Well,
been the problem there.
So then
too.
procedurally, this actually is sounding potentially a little bit easier, is just say,
Mhm.
you know, the committees don't have any update access within Google Drive.
Yep.
Their path into Google Drive is through the clerk's office.
Yes.
And then you do have that, and that's not necessarily a huge extra burden. It's like, you know, shoot an email to Terry, and we do that now for a lot of things
yeah, I
anyway.
throw a lot of things in
Um,
there.
You know, shoot an email to Terry and say, please throw this in the XYZ.
Well, and I'm trying to enter them in there with a name so people know what the document is,
Mhm.
which is really cool. There's not a bunch of documents in there that have, you know,
The same.
a random
names,
name. Yeah.
Or the same names.
Yeah.
Document one.
String of
Yeah.
letters and numbers.
Just side note, the license we have for Google Drive, we have Google Workspace Business Starter. Is what we have. That's what we are paying for. Google Workspace Business Starter.
Yep.
Usage of 10 seats,
That's our email addresses then.
which is all like the board. The clerks. Jay, I think is on there.
That's perfect, though. That I can look at what that
Okay.
actually.
Do you need me to
translates
print it
for
or you get?
Philly, so-
$6 per user per month.
And the total that we pay is $30
A month, a year.
a month. I'm
month.
sorry, a month.
I think we have more than 5 people.
Are those 10 seats?
Oh, that's limited to 5?
No, this says usage of 10 seats.
Oh, 10
It's
seats.
it's $6 per user. So if we're paying 30 per month, we're paying for 5 licenses.
Ah,
She'll have to check that out with Tim,
Okay.
because there was some discount we got on that. That we're under. Said that loud enough. There's some discount that we got on that through Tim, and I can't answer any more than that.
well, but you said right within it, it said 10 seats, right?
It says up to, yep.
Up to 10
And then
seats.
it says we're active with 10 assigned. That's what it says.
Okay,
So I'll see if.
So
I
she can check with Tim on that when you guys are on that call together.
yep, sounds good. And
I would ask them to tell us what our 10 signed seats are.
I can tell you in 1 second.
She can find that out.
So we have the chair, the clerk, the 2 deputy clerks, the plan commission. I wonder if this is for Anton. It just says Plan Commission, Town of St. Joseph.
Yep, that's the one.
Supervisor. 1, 2, 3. Hang on, I gotta scroll. I can't scroll. I don't know why.
Presumably Supervisor 4 in the finance.
I was gonna say it has to be it because I can't scroll, so I don't. Cause yeah, that's what we have.
Oh, so nobody else is supposed to be using it then? Or updating on there?
I don't believe that's the case. I think they are assigned as a group, but we'll have to check on that. We're gonna have Tim answer that question.
yeah, and I'll look to it, what that license actually gives you. And see if we're violating the spirit or the letter or consistent with it because they have flexibility that we're using that.
So you're gonna,
At least we have a business.
so you're gonna clarify the seats, the number of seats, the number of emails and the number of licenses, and Anton kind of indicated the licenses may be the seats, right?
Well, license relates to seats. The email, anybody can get a Google email at google.com.
Is there a limit on how many emails can be in amongst the seats?
Well, I want to, again, I need to look at how the licensing works.
So you're, okay,
And because if a seat, it kind of goes back to what I was asking about OneDrive, is if a seat is somebody that has update access and it gives you permission within that to give anybody view access, then we're probably fine if it allows that.
And every
That's
time I
kind of what I
put-
thought OneDrive would do.
Mhm.
But again, that's where we, the devil's in the details, so. I'll look at what exactly the details of the license are. This week, because, next week they might be different.
Well, and maybe she can set up a team call.
Yeah,
between you
that's
and
what I
her
was thinking
there.
is actually we could
Yeah.
maybe do set up a Teams call with me, you and
Tim,
Tim.
okay. Same song.
So,
31st.
Shoot me an email or a text with when you might be able to set that up with Tim. But when it works for him and you,
Okay,
and just make sure I have a couple days lead time. Because I don't check my email every day.
gotcha.
Well, and I was thinking, Anton, probably Planning Commission has the most complex use cases.
Yeah.
Do you
Well, I
want,
don't know about parks, but
what's
I
that?
I don't know about parks, but yeah, I can certainly write up use cases for planning commission.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be great.
Will do. Or we'll find where I wrote it before, because I still think that we talked through this a few months ago.
Yep, sounds good. All right, any more discussion on that? We got a couple takeaways. EV charging at town hall. So the St. Croix Electric Cooperative had some funding to put in 3 destination chargers. And so they put them at White Eagle, the golf course up here. Can't remember the name of it. St. Croix National, that's it. St. Croix National, White Eagle, and then the third one's at Big Eyes. So they've actually spent the money that they had for now. So I'm on his tickler if they get more money and are interested in doing it, expanding it out more. He'll let me know, but for the time being, they've used the money, and those are actually more appropriate locations than town hall anyway. But he's not sure that there's more places that are more appropriate than town hall, so. But he is thinking that probably the next one, if they do it, would probably be like in Burkhart. So, but if they get funding for 3 more, town hall might make sense. So he'll let me know if and when more build-up money is available. So. St. Croix National.
I forgot to say this during your time on broadband, and I forgot. We're doing that road project in Holton, redoing all those roads.
Mhm.
And Northwest is putting piping under all the roads to run fiber in the future.
Oh, nice.
So all those underneath, so it'll save them a ton of costs. All they're having to do is provide the piping. So the piping goes across with 2 uprights.
Mhm.
They'll dig it all in for them. They have no cost of the digging because we're already tearing it down 2 feet. And so they've providing that, and so that'll all be built out throughout that part of Holton. Does not include Farm Circle. What's? No, not Thalen. I meant not farm. No, the school. Holden School Circle and Road will not be included in it.
Ah,
But and the main street will not be included, but all those other streets will have piping underneath them ready to go.
well, that should make it really cost effective when they, when they want to do it. So perfect. Oh, that's great news. So I guess, any more on that? All right, nothing more on EV charging for town hall. So that will not carry over to a future meeting. Laptop devices for town board members. I was gonna be working with Mary to put together requirements and I forgot. Or not a question, a requirements questionnaire.
For the town board people, I mean,
Yeah, what I want to do is you're better at requirements gathering. Is to kind of put together some questions that we could ask. That would help us define how they would use it or what the requirements would be. Mary, does that make sense?
yeah, I didn't know it was on my list of things to do. Oh, I can do
Yeah, it
that.
was on my
No problem.
list to talk to you and I forgot, so.
Okay. I can
This
do
is
that.
basically just asking the town board members.
What are they,
In
need
a
their
way,
laptops for?
it's useful answers. I'm really good at asking questions. I'm not as good at asking them in a way to get the answers that are useful. Emails for committee chair licensing costs.
We did talk about that. Tim told me the price would be $85. It's a one-time fee for each email address.
That's it?
Yep.
Oh,
And he said they'll probably last for about 4 to 5 years. It's a 2019 license.
okay.
That's all I have for you on that.
So it'll last us until we upgrade beyond
Yes.
2019.
Yep.
Sounds good.
So if we were to utilize these one-time fees and put on new addresses, are we gonna do a .gov address or are we gonna go with a Gmail thing? Or a .com?
We would probably go with the .gov.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
But we would assign them. We would assign them generically, so it would say
Mhm.
PC chair. It would not say Anton's name. That way it transfers, like ours say supervisor and chair, it transfers to the next person.
So do we have a list of committees that we would want to do that for? Obviously, planning commission, I'm thinking parks, public works.
You have to do the BOA, well, the chair would have to get that.
You don't want BOA records. You don't want it to follow the email address?
No, the BOA would follow with it. These are just for chair people. This is not for committee members.
Yeah, it's not for the whole, everybody. It's for
That's
the
what it
chair of
says
each
here.
committee.
So the BOA, he should have one,
Yep,
he or
park adjustment.
her,
Plan,
and I don't, and I wouldn't necessarily do finance right now, only because they're often a committee chair. So they already have an email.
I'm confused.
So
There-
Bob Marty, who's the chair of Public Works right now, is the chair of the Finance Committee.
Okay,
So he would not need a separate, I don't see the need for a separate Finance Committee email. They don't do much by email anyway.
okay,
Most of
So-
their, everything for them is on Google Drive. I don't see a need for them to have an email.
okay.
Do you? I don't see that. No.
I think you.
I think those four.
Yeah, planning. Public.
Okay, well, so. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion and then we can discuss it and go one way or another. But I guess I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the board that we purchase an email license and assign an email address for the chair of Board of Adjustments, the chair for Planning Commission, the chair for Parks, and the chair for Public Works at $85 per license. If someone can do the math. Okay,
140.
3:40, okay. All right, so that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
All right. I think there's potential for some discussion here. Teresa, did you have? Oh, you were good with, okay, so I got it right. All right, any further discussion? All right. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Cool. That's been on our list for a long time. Did I mention it would just be a .gov address?
Yes.
Okay. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. Town hall technology, projector solution.
So this,
I-
this was brought up that Justin would like to get rid of the projector with the screen.
Yes.
He wants to have a television in place of it. And she talked to him.
Yeah, I talked to Tim and he dropped the ball on that email. So he did not look it up, does not have a quote
Okay.
at this time.
I know it's gonna be in excess of $3,000. I just don't know what the total cost is of doing that.
Yep. What's the threshold that it has to go out for bids?
Well, it's a piece of equipment, so we don't have to go till it's 25.
Okay,
And we.
it shouldn't be. It won't be that much.
It better not be. So, yeah. I mean, the question is this something we want to do now, or is it something we're gonna wait on? I mean, you know, I get that this is not as easy to look at as a TV screen would be.
Mhm.
It's something to investigate and see what the price is.
Yeah, and I guess the question I do have is this a problem? I mean, just saying it's not as easy as a TV, is it a problem that people can't see it?
He's the first one to complain to me about it. I don't know. Have you heard complaints?
how often is it used?
Oh,
We
Almost every
have-
meeting now.
Every meeting.
Every meeting.
Okay,
I can't fairly weigh in because for me, I don't rely on that screen for any visual. So to me, there's no impact. And I think if it was a case, if it was important to me and I couldn't clearly see it, I probably would be logging in with my own device to be able to see it differently. So
Yeah.
I'm not a good one to ask because I don't understand. I was gonna ask you why a TV was more important than what we have. So,
Well, he's saying that the
And I
TV
saw-
is clearer,
which it is, did you?
but I also question that if you're sitting at this table like you are,
Mhm.
you have the Zoom meeting on in front of you.
Yep.
So you should be able to view everybody at every time with everything. Now, if I put a doc up there, because I have done a shared doc and put it up there, if you're on your computer, you can see that.
yeah.
You don't
And-
have to look up here to see it.
And I'll be honest, in my view, it's not necessarily that it's a projector versus a screen that's the issue. It's that if I'm sitting over here and it's way over there, it's just not big enough. And
And from my perspective, I need, where I sit, I need a screen either there or over there. So,
Anton, go ahead.
I will say, I probably spend just about as much time as anyone else in this meeting in the audience. If I'm sitting on the left side, I've never really had problems. If I'm sitting on the right side and there's something on there that is a document with something to read, for instance, when we get engineering presentations or stuff on like park equipment or whatever, it's not really readable, but it's because of the angle more than anything else.
Right.
So
And
in those cases, that's pretty much the only time I wind up like logging into the Zoom meeting from my laptop while I'm in the audience is if something is up there other than just the Zoom display. And there's any text on it, it's beyond, large like PowerPoint slide or whatever. It's not really readable.
Yeah, and Anton,
You're on the far side of the room.
do you think a TV would change that?
No, I think
I
it's good.
I
It's
didn't
fair- it's
either, but I
fairly
wanted to
positioning.
ask. Well, and I agree with what Lori mentioned as well, is in my view, if we're gonna buy a projector or a screen, to me, it would be a better investment to get a second one for this side of the room and have two, one for each side of the room. That to me gives more benefit because that would actually solve Anton's.
Well, I don't know. It would to
Potential.
some extent. I would actually put it in front. I would put a screen that comes down, like right over where Terry's sitting.
By the
and
kitchen.
projector
Yeah.
onto that.
But then that takes it away from the board. So you have to be, in
Only
the case
two.
of the board meeting is a board meeting. It's not there for the public. The public is simply watching you. And if I'm putting something up on the screen that I'm sharing with my board members and they don't have a computer, for instance, like Chris, they're looking up there at it and behind me is not the best choice because I can't
Yeah.
see it.
Well, in all honesty, probably again, two, the best would be one behind you and then one actually in front.
Right.
As opposed, because if you're on the end, that,
So it's something to think about. I just don't know that the TV is the right choice.
yeah, I don't
No.
think it doesn't
think so.
solve the problems that anybody has described so far.
So let's think about that.
So,
So
so,
it solves one problem, but it's not the extent of the problems, right?
well, I'm not sure it really solves any problem. I haven't
Okay,
heard a
so-
problem yet that it solves.
It increases contrast. The contrast is not great on that if the lights are on. That's about the only thing it solves.
Correct. But it doesn't solve the visibility, but completely solve the visibility issue.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily solve the contrast either. I've certainly seen TVs where the contrast sucks if you're not directly in front of it.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's one of the problems with a lot of the TVs is the viewing angle's not. Yeah, I mean, you want to get a more expensive one that has the wide viewing angle.
And the viewing angle from where Lori is not going to be good
Yeah, yeah, none of them have good viewing
from below.
from below or above, because that's not what they're really engineered for, because that's not a normal use.
So the problem would probably be better described, not just replace the screen, but have better viewing from all seats. From the first criteria is the board, right?
Yep.
And then potentially the audience. So, but I think
One thing that I'm seeing happening in some of these rooms is they're dropping it down in the middle of the room.
Mhm.
So one screen or television points at the board and the other screen or television points at the room.
Mhm.
Our problem is we're a little tight here. So if to put it in here, you're gonna be like this, no matter which side of that thing you're on.
if
And
we
that's
put-
something to consider because it's tight in here.
Yeah, well, and if we put the screen kind of over where the public is, we now actually just blocked our camera.
yes, you do. So I think the issue is potential options, but we don't have a defined what the problem is exactly. So we can't really go ask somebody for costs either.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think it's just, if you want to have it as something to think about or consider for a future meeting, that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to go ask for costs at this time because we don't know exactly what our requirements are.
And if we're going to do it for a future meeting, we need to get requirements.
Yep.
From the board.
yeah. All right. Logitech Tab. This is something Justin added.
I have
Yeah.
no information on that.
Let me just say quickly. This was set up to run everything off this computer.
Yep,
I have no complaints. It has run it absolutely just fine. He came up with some of the things he's seen as what's called this Logitech Tap.
yep,
And what it essentially does is you can just tap it and it will turn everything on.
Okay.
We had that option
yeah, we
when we
actually,
put this in.
and we chose not to spend the money.
And we
on it.
didn't do it because of the cost involved in it.
Yep,
That was the cost. this computer only runs all of this. It doesn't do anything else. So I want someone to explain to me why we're trying to fix something that's not broken. I guess that's
Well-
where I'm at. So
Well, we made a conscious decision. We had that discussion when we did the whole AV upgrade. Is that running it from that laptop was adequate, and the cost of a dedicated controller device wasn't worth it, basically. So we already made that decision once. So this is really a question of, do we want to revisit that decision? And I'll be honest,
As long as we don't care about the fact that there's no security on that laptop, I'm fine with what we're doing.
what do you consider security, Anton?
Like not gluing the password to the laptop that is connected to the
Well-
town network.
and to be honest, that a different device doesn't necessarily solve. I guess it's a more restricted device, but I guess the question I have is, and I'm trying to just get info on that, is can the Zoom meeting itself be initiated from this,
From this device, from this Logitech?
from the
Yes.
Logitech
Yeah.
tab?
It's, I
Gotcha.
presume it's similar to these owls that they have out now that can run a Zoom meeting
Oh,
from the owl.
yep.
I mean, there used to be the owl could not do that, but now it can. But we have this full setup. My other concern is that if we decide to change this, we have a cost involved in putting all that onto whatever this device is. I mean, you just don't plug it in.
So can
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we go back, can we go back to, and then I need to drop, it's like using another piece of technology will solve a problem, but is it a problem
No.
we need to solve?
No,
Okay, I think that
Yeah.
answers the question, right? We had
Yeah.
looked at it before, decided we didn't want to spend the extra cost, so that settles that, right?
The reasons
And I'm
haven't
gonna,
changed.
and I'm gonna tell you an interesting to come and just be the fly on the wall and don't intervene. Come to a park meeting when they're in here and they're all logging on. And that will tell you what your problem is, because when that is set up, so you don't go and do anything except for that, but once your screen is up, you click on your meeting, so you put the password in. None of the login is blind, so when you tap it, it's gonna put you, that's where it's gonna send you to, is the Zoom meeting, pick it off the list, which one's yours, hit that, put the password in. Boom, go, that was how it was working. But no, when it's not opened up and it's not just hit the thing and go. And then they're
I'd like
all,
you to explain that again. Explain that again, because I understood that when you come into a meeting, you open this up, you click on Zoom. It says, here's your meeting, you click on it and the meeting starts.
no, because they're using that little piece, the little piece of paper there of the username and put this password in, and then they're trying to share stuff. And so it's part of how I believe the individuals are logging into Zoom themselves and then sharing screens and deciding how they're gonna share screens. I think that's what the problem is. I don't think we need more technology.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that
And
has
I
nothing to do
don't-
with this
training.
laptop. That's.
Because
the-
I don't see anything other than I'm too short. I
Okay,
don't think your problem is sitting in that laptop.
Yeah.
And I don't
I
think,
agree.
or it has to do with how how the laptop is booting up. And when it says that you have to put the user or put the whatever to be able to get into it, when it's completely shut down, and I think that's what the problem is. I think really-
They're using that to start their own meetings when, okay, here's how I do it. And Anton, you can correct me if I'm wrong. All committee meetings should start off that laptop for Zoom. That's where the committee meeting should reside. When I have a board meeting, I started off my computer and this one joins me.
And I think that's,
And the
that's
problem
fine
is
for
that-
how you do it.
But this is the problem, is that if I'm starting the meeting and you're gonna get on the meeting and use my credentials, you kick me off.
And I
And
think,
that's what's happening on that laptop is if they're using the same credentials, they're kicking the laptop off.
and there is no reason why anybody should need to I'm not gonna, I'm not talking about you, because you're gonna
No.
just do whatever you need to do. Or want to, but anyway. There's no reason that I can see that any committee that laptop should be running the committee. And,
Yes.
and everybody else. Now, if I go in
Yeah.
and I'm gonna join your Zoom meeting, I don't use any credentials that are on there. I have my own.
Well, you should be
That's
coming in
right.
as yourself,
And that's,
because then it'll show who you are,
And
like I
then-
am right here.
and then
Yes.
if
Yeah,
they
there's
need,
John.
then if they wanna join, or if they wanna share their thing, you can tell that computer right
Right
there
there to
to
share.
let them share
Yeah.
it.
Yes,
So I'm just gonna throw the poor park committee under the bus and say, there's nothing wrong with your laptop.
thank you.
And I don't understand why we need an owl or a Logitech or any other animal to add on to running our laptop.
Right.
Yeah,
That's,
So maybe what we need to do then.
I
is to-
agree.
is
I
to
don't think
change-
I don't think our password should even be up there. That's how bad it
Right.
is.
So I think we have to pull that password off of there,
Totally changed.
change it and hand it out to the committee chairs.
Okay.
And be done,
I can do that.
right?
I don't have another.
Because I can't be here for every meeting, so it'll have to go to the chairs.
And me either.
well, Anton, that sounds like it's consistent with what you're thinking from what you said earlier.
And
Yeah,
when
pretty much.
people are like, how do I get on Zoom? You don't go over there and write that down and put it on their desk in front of them and say, well, here's how you can get on Zoom, because then
Yeah.
everybody's on Zoom and nobody's running the meeting. So if you go and just go and check your last park meeting
Ah,
and see if that video, if you can load that up, it's gonna tell you what
You can do that.
what could be the problem. And there was also a fall festival meeting that would be a good one to check. And that, I think if you see conflicts and it's there, that's what it is. It's how it's being utilized off of that.
Hmm.
And that's my unprofessional
Yeah, and
best
the
guess.
the Logitech tab wouldn't solve that problem either if they came and used
no.
the presenter's credentials and booted the tap off the thing, so. Sounds good. Terry has a plan.
I have a plan.
Okay,
I have a lot of plans.
any other discussion on that?
Nope.
On Logitech tab? All right. That is the last agenda item. Recommendations to the town board. We have one for the email addresses for committee chairs. Items for next agenda. I'm just kind of going down. Okay, yes, we'll still keep that on. For the next agenda, we'll keep, basically, I'll tell you what we're not gonna have on next agenda. We won't have EV charging. We'll keep emails for committee chairs just to see if the board approved it. And because that's really gonna be working with Tim
Makes sense.
to get set up. I don't think we need to do any more discussion on the Logitech tab. Do we want to carry the projector solution, or do we want to basically say,
No.
we'll take that off until, I'm inclined to take it off
I'd
until
say
the
take it
board
off.
specifically asks for something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so the town hall technology basically goes away,
Okay,
doesn't carry over.
perfect.
All right. Meeting for next, or the next meeting should be May 23rd.
Okay,
And that works because it is before, the week before Memorial Day.
okay.
Anybody have concerns with the 23rd?
Nope.
No,
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks, everyone else. Especially Terry.
Maybe.